And so this is going to be our subject today. I think it'd be funny to do one of these like an autopsy,
Mm.
but it's like whatever. So
Some of
this
the
is
text is so tiny I have to switch screens.
yeah. I'm gonna have to zoom in here pretty good, but so this is what we're
Yeah.
looking at here today. I think we can tentatively title it "Look Up Boobs," because I think that if we were to publish this, it would do better on the search engines because of the word boobs. But really,
I'll be honest. I'm I'm really not understanding what I'm looking at here.
well, me neither. And honestly, this one got me enough that I felt it was worth an image autopsy. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so the first thing that really drew my mind is this. That is way too fucking big of a brush. Is this Fruitiger Aero image right here? And
Yeah.
I feel as though this could be a red herring, right?
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
would, I think, be entirely sensible. But
Yep.
I like it. I think that in a way, it sets the tone of the image, right?
Yep.
Because Fruitiger Arrow, I associate that with like a sort of whimsical, fun, um, like the mid to early 2000s, right? This is
Yeah, I'll buy that.
yeah, if somebody says catch a vibe, Fruitiger Arrow is one of the vibes that you can really catch, I think. And then the other thing about this image that really threw me for a loop is this Riverside, California, and it's just the fucking Wikipedia page for Riverside, California, which
Mm-hmm.
I'll pull that up real quick. Riverside.
Now, to wit, the auteur of this, we'll say abomination for all intents and purposes, uh, I believe they have no intrinsic tie to Riverside, California, correct?
As far as I'm aware, there is no connection here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'll pull up the Wikipedia page for Riverside, California here. Is that showing up
It's
on
very
Discord?
visible. Yes, 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 quite.
Okay, good. And we'll do a quick little scan here and see if there's anything that pops out. Which the first thing that really draws my eye to this is number one, two of the things that Wikipedia has decided are worth noticing about Riverside, California is this First Church of Christ, which admittedly
Mm-hmm.
is a beautiful, beautiful building.
Oh yeah, I have to admit that is a excellent example of Spanish architecture, which I am personally a big fan of.
It says it's the oldest mission revival style building still existing in Riverside, which certified banger. And
Sure.
then the first congregational church of the Spanish colonial revival style. And one of
Yeah,
I love this one. I think I actually like this one a little bit more than the last one.
I'll be honest. It is just a touch, and I'm going to use improper terms here, but just a touch too baroque for me.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I like the simpler. Phone has decided to freak out. Anyways, I like the much more simple thing, but
Yeah.
take it as you will.
Well, so I'm actually going to break with you here. I think that I love, I guess for lack of a better term, how gaudy this is. Like I
Mm.
like the ornamental,
Mm-hmm.
and I like especially
I,
like
I can see that.
yeah, like on the bell tower, it's like just a fucking block, and then this, thousands of man hours of chiseling. I really like that. And then another thing that I thought was cool is this flag. I think that's a great
Yeah,
flag.
that I am personally curious
Hmm.
because to wit, my understanding is the double cross on the top is more a Eastern Orthodox heritage,
Yeah.
which is not something that I've usually tethered to the Spaniards. Um, so I am curious about that. Perhaps it is a homage to a local thing, but oh well, only 1%.
1%. Huh.
The LDS have a stronger showing than Eastern Orthodoxy, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Also, for what I will say, I'm sure it's part and parcel with the things that they're focusing on this article, but I don't recall too many articles that go out of their way to discuss the religious makeup of a particular locale, unless it is important to that locale.
I suppose it could be. They've got a large population of Seventh Day Adventists. But here's something that I thought was cool. And this is, we'll go back to the image after this. But Riverside, California houses the Cheech Marin Center for Chicano Art and Culture, also known as the Cheech.
Yep, good old Cheech Marin.
The city actually apparently also owns it, works it, something.
Interesting.
I
I
really
will
like that
say
it just the
the
Cheech on
previous
the building
town,
really big.
yeah, the previous town that I lived in humble eastern New Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
had a no joke Cheech and Chong's dispensary, which was interesting.
That's that's pretty cool. You know, you got to have your. You can't just be a. You can't do one thing these days.
Well, ultimate point being that I didn't realize that there was branded. I get what their brand is.
Mm-hmm.
Very obviously, it meshes well with the dispensary. But it was interesting to see a Cheech and Chong branded dispensary for marijuana. But anyways,
Okay, so the first golf course and polo field and orange trees in California, in Southern California, were all in Riverside. And they
wow.
had a California Silk Center Association.
A little fun fact for the viewers out there. Apparently, oranges
Mm-hmm.
um, that come from California are better than oranges that come from Florida. So, with that being said, a lot of the orange juice that's sold in America is a blend where they take cheaper orange products from Florida and mix them with higher quality oranges from California.
Huh. You learn something new every day.
Mm-hmm.
Riverside is the 59th most populous city in the United States and the
Sure.
12th most populous city in California.
I mean, it seems to be an outskirts of Los Angeles, if I'm not mistaken. It looked to be roughly in that area. I'm not terribly well versed on my geography.
That's the fucking county?
It is interesting,
So yeah,
but
it does look
what?
like it's pretty close to LA.
Yeah, yeah. It is. It is perhaps a larger offshoot of the Metroplex.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it really looks like it. Okay.
Oh, there's Santa Clarita. I'd honestly never quite understood where Santa Clarita was in the north, kind of northwest.
Mm-hmm. This used to be a big salmon river. I assume
Yeah,
there's
I'm sure
still
it's.
salmon in there sometimes, but not anymore.
Um, yeah, I'm sure they've used a lot of concrete and utterly destroyed that river.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. Anyways, back to our meme. So we've analyzed the fishies and Riverside, California. Perhaps there's a tether there. That would be interesting.
I suppose that is true. I Well, hold on. Let's. I'm gonna fucking pull the internet back out, and I'm gonna Google connection. Oh shit. Okay, let's see. We're gonna do quote Fruitiger, Aero, quote Riverside, California, quote. And not really anything. I was kind of hoping for something a little more substantial.
Yeah, I was gonna say perhaps this is a well, spelling, but doesn't seem to be the case. I'm curious what the tether in that case between the I love two-dimensional women
Mm-hmm.
is. Now, there's a very obvious thing between look up boobs on google.com
Yeah.
and loving two-dimensional women. I'm sure you're going to find a lot of those. But what I am curious of is what the tether between the two-dimensional women, Riverside, California, and then the fruitage Aero, sorry, is. Yes, exactly.
We'll put a little question mark there.
Yeah.
And now, of course,
Almost like a guy with a face.
I'm gonna. Oh my god, yeah. The plot thickens, and so I would hazard to guess, just based on the fact that if I saw a donkey on a skateboard wearing sunglasses, I would be like, oh shit, that's beast as fuck. But I think that one of the beautiful things about this really is, like, this is overall a good Photoshop, but it makes me wonder.
I wouldn't go that far, but
Well,
fair.
I would say it's a good Photoshop, except for, like, how carelessly this shirt was placed, and the glasses on the donkey, because it looks to me, as an untrained eye, my doctorate's only in art history, as though this image was constructed, and then the glasses and the shirt are somewhat of an afterthought, or maybe even really by a separate auteur.
That is entirely possible.
Mhm.
Now, I now that you bring it up, I am somewhat curious of the order in which these various images were placed upon this overall image. I guess it's a little bit recursive, but what I'm curious is if we look at order precedence, obviously the whatever it is exploding on what appears to be a missile launch pad is well, I don't know, maybe that's a nuclear test site. It'd be interesting. But whatever it is, that seems to be obviously the in the most background.
Mhm.
And then to my eye, I don't have a doctorate in musical biology like you do. Um, and to my untrained eye, it seems like the next thing was perhaps the Google search for how to commit tax evasion.
Yeah, so I'm glad you
Perhaps
brought that
the
up,
eagle.
because uh, we'll put a pin in this, but that is something that I wanted to talk about. So
Yeah,
continue.
yeah, yeah. Fair, fair, fair. So either the Google search, also for what it's worth, I'm not familiar with that particular GUI with Google,
Mm-hmm.
which is also an interesting point. Seems to be a bit non-standard, if you will. You have the American bald eagle, which we can't really quite tell what the order of precedence between the two are. But then, of course, above that, then you have, well, then you have the Aero and perhaps the Riverside, California. All of those, so those four images, the Google, the Eagle, the Fishies, and the Riverside, all seem to be the next layer.
Mm-hmm.
Then on top of that, we have look up boobs, which is interesting. Then, so surprisingly in this case, I believe the next one would be both the donkey and the skateboard, or perhaps just the skateboard, then the donkey. Then you have, in my humble opinion, probably the highest layer, which is the glasses, the shirt, and then the on Google.com. So I am curious the order of precedence that these things were layered together, what that means for the overall construction of the message that is being attempted to be conveyed, assuming that there was one in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Back to you over with your Ph.D. in microphysics.
So, I think that's a good point. Like one of the things that really strikes me about this image is the layering of it, because where earlier I had thought, oh, okay, the donkey is just pasted up on top, you can see down here on the O on Google, the donkey was added in the same session, at least that the text was, because there is in fact a lipping right here of the O on Google.com. But one of the things that I really like the eagle. I think that we can sort of discount the eagle by and large, although the association between eagles and America and explosion, that's trite. We don't even need to talk about that. But the thing that I really wanted to talk about too is this how to commit tax evasion minus AI. And I think that if it was just how to commit tax evasion, we could really consider this as a sort of, callback to sort of, even MLG random humor type of stuff, right? But the minus AI really makes it feel a lot more recent. That's the only thing that really dates this image as having been made in the past 3 years instead of the past,
yeah,
like
3 years. Yeah.
And so I think that in another way, the minus AI here really speaks to the fact that this is not just an assortment of images. This is not just the word boobs, right? This is a celebration of human effort, right? Because I suppose that this is where we can tie Riverside, California in. Those buildings were beautiful. Let me pull it back up.
I would also, in tandem with that, be curious about what the general economic, I guess what the gross domestic product per capita, or perhaps the average net value of a Riverside a resident is, because there may be a tie in there, as is so often discussed by various leftists, between tax evasion and Riverside, insofar as maybe there's commentary there about the residents of Riverside committing tax evasion in order to buoy their wealth.
I suppose that's true.
And if we're going to continue kind of a leftist critique of this, is there then a further tie between that and, albeit perhaps it's militaristic, or perhaps it is just science in general? I think we all generally acknowledge the explosion to be some aspect of economic processes built upon scientific discovery. So it's certainly an interesting thing. I will say, I think there is perhaps an interesting commentary on people such as Elon Musk, because he is someone who perhaps allegedly, some people may have alleged, um, done some tax fraud or done some fucky stuff with taxes. He is someone who very much so advocates for AI. I think that's generally understood.
Yes.
I don't know where he lives. And I'd be willing to bet that I mean, you have the American eagle there. Well, sorry. You have the bald eagle, which generally represents America, seeing as how he has been a quasi appointed person within the American government. I can't tether the fish. I don't know much about that particular image. Um, but I think I think there might be an interesting tether there to either him or generically a lot of individuals from the tech world, um, within the higher echelons of the tech world.
Yeah. Hmm.
Also, I think notably the minus AI, you can both say he is a generalized, and a lot of people from the that region are acknowledged to be very pro technology.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think an interesting part of the discourse here is that he in recent years has had multiple times to quote unquote what would people say, uh, he's had multiple times to rein in his own AI, because given enough time, his own AI, Grok, usually seems to learn and evolve in such ways that it seemingly rebels against the narrative that he's trying to push.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So one might even perhaps say that these, you could even potentially say that there is some kind of commentary and discourse here about the fact that the various individuals of Silicon Valley vibe, we'll say, who perhaps live in Riverside, California, push these AI tools upon us. AI tools, a lot of them being used to develop two-dimensional women and other various bits of pornography. But
Mm-hmm.
but simultaneously acknowledge, on more perhaps private discourse, the problems with the tools that they're creating, because they themselves are so out of touch with society. Whenever you feed society into an AI, they then have to rein that AI back in, just in order to try to do the things that they actually want to do, because they are so far displaced from society. Once again, just going from a very leftist critique, as we know this particular auteur generally is inclined to do.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, I think that that's a really good point. This is not only is this a statement about sort of the one of the hallmarks of our time is that neoliberalism has really absolutely driven out the local government, to where the only way that they're really able to make money is through like random horseshit fines for people, you know, having a dog that is too short haired within a mile of city limits. So I think that I think you have a really good point there. And I think that just because, I'm sort of getting the curtains here, I think that we can say that the thesis we're taking out of this is that in today's day and age, the normal alienation of capitalist society is so heightened by the fact that you never know if the 2D women that you're looking at were generated by a large language model, or if they were drawn hand and fist by a human being with a heart and a soul and a life. That it makes the conspicuous consumption of those 2D women sort of like this missile launch in the back. You know, it sort of throws the whole thing into disarray. And really just powerful stuff here. And
If I could add to just a finishing touch on your analysis here, if we go in a we'll say quasi-Marxist direction, as we are already kind of trending in that direction, and we talk about there's an interesting discourse I've been hearing as of late about the alienation not just of workers from or from people from the products that they consume and what have you, but an alienation and more so an isolation of individuals from reality. As AI comes in, it is creating artificial realities, right?
mm-hmm.
And so if one perhaps enjoys two-dimensional women, right? Maybe this is a commentary that instead one should actually look up boobs on google.com because that is in some way less alienating than AI developed pornography.
Wow, yet another masterful analysis.
Like I said, I apologize. I don't have a degree in mechanical sexology like you do. I'm just shooting from the hip here.
Well, I think that we've really got to something here today. Thank you once again to our guest, the wonderful Mr. Live Clams. Do you have anything else you'd like to plug before the show ends?
Yes. Please look me up on LinkedIn. I am desperate for a job.
Excellent. Thank you. And that's all we've got here today. Thank you, everybody.